All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Larissa Assam, and I am one of the co hosts of the C Lab podcast. Welcome to today's recording. Today's episode is going to be very interesting because I'm interviewing someone who also owns the podcast. So, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. Today, we are joined by Chef Andre Sawyers. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but you're in for a treat with today's episode. I'm going to act like I don't know him, I don't know anything, and we're going to basically have a blank slate, and he's going to tell us all about himself. So, Chef Dre, thank you for being on today. Could you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Oh, Dr. Lisa, thank you for having me on my own podcast that we co-host. But for those of you that do not know me, I am Chef Dre Sawyers. My name is Andre, but I go by Dre. If I hear Andre, I think I'm in trouble. Fun fact. But um, yeah, I am a plant-based coach or plant-based chef rather, but I'm also a health and wellness coach. You can just call me the wellness architect for short. All things plant-based health and wellness. And I have been in the industry now for about 5 years. And I got here on accident, didn't want to be in this industry. This just, I kind of tripped and fell into this space, but, you know, over the past few years, it's become very clear that this is what I'm called to do. And so I'm just here to help those, who are in need, help those who are hungry, pun intended, and help those who simply just want change.
Okay. Thank you, Chef Dre, for your introduction. That was very modest. Can you also share a little bit more about your background? Because I think it matters for today's episode. A little bit more about your background before your current season. What did you do? Did you ever play sports? Did you ever work anywhere?
Yes, it's funny that you say modest. Funny enough, I've been told that I'm not humble enough. I'm not modest enough. So the irony in that and of itself is funny. But anyways, yeah, so I played basketball at a pro level, played collegiate basketball, had it, like I said, a quick stint, this professional space that didn't work out the way I had expected it to. And so pivoted into corporate. So worked in corporate America for over 10 plus years. Uh, I think at my highest, I was a VP at Morgan Stanley. And yeah, I've navigated different spaces, different industries within corporate. I've been in, music, tech, startups, the financial space. So I've been in a few different spaces by the grace of God. And, the past, I would say, I think my last role was back in 2022, 22 or 23. 22, sorry. I always forget. It's one of the two. But my last, run was a few years back, and then decided to kind of, try this entrepreneurship thing. And so here we are by the grace of God and only by the grace of God, because if it were up to me, I'd still be working a 9 to 5, collecting a check, being okay with being okay.
So let's actually talk about that. Why? Why would you be okay with that? Because, a lot of people desire to be entrepreneurs, but it
Yeah.
sounds like you would be okay with working.
Man, listen, I mean, I tell people all the time, look, unless you're really called into the space of entrepreneurship, don't do it because it's a lot of work. You know, for the first few years, there's no true cadence, right, in terms of, revenue. So I think it was maybe last year or two that I started to see some consistency in revenue. But, you know, if you were to compare that to someone who has a 9 to 5, you know that you're getting paid every other week or every 15th and 30th, right? So you know there's something coming in. Whereas for entrepreneurs, listen, you got to go out and get that because if you don't, you're not getting paid. That's just how this works, right? So, it can be it's a huge, huge shock when you get into this space and you realize, Oh, so you're telling me that I'm not getting paid on the 15th if I didn't go out and sell the product or service or thing. I think that was probably my biggest eye opener coming into this space. I was like, hold on there, where's the direct deposit? You know what I mean? Where's that check? You know what I mean? But over time you realize that you have to build relationships, you have to put the work in. Simply put, you just gotta put the work in.
That's key. And you said something important. Entrepreneurship is a calling, it is literally a calling. And one thing I've learned is when it's God's will, some way, somehow, He will take care of it.
Yeah.
But the issue is if it is not His will, then it's actually not His responsibility.
Right.
So that's key that you said that. But entrepreneurship is, I always say it's not for the faint of heart. You have to be bold, you have to be resilient, and you need a lot of faith. I think
Yeah.
you have a lot of faith.
Man, listen, if your business is not predicated on faith, then you shouldn't and can't do it, right? Because before anything, you get this vision, you see the thing, but there's
Mm,
no true provision to execute the vision.
mm,
So the thing that helps you execute the vision is faith. Faith
mm,
becomes your currency, becomes the thing that you can hold on to that carries you through. And then that's all you need to do, right? I think for me, even my company's name is Mustard Seed. The whole thing is all about faith.
mm,
I started Mustard Seed all on faith. It was a seed that the Lord planted. It was actually a seed that my dad planted right back in the days about just having faith. I saw faith in action all the time.
mm,
Um, and so that stuck with me. And so for me now, just being where I am, it's only by the grace of God, but it's also faith, right? And I think for entrepreneurs, it's important to have a vision. It's important to see the thing. It's important to dream. It's important to um, have that level of faith and that you can do it, because the reality is people will tell you that you can't do something, right? And that's a whole nother conversation in of itself. The mental aspect,
mhm,
right, of like being an entrepreneur. Like
mm,
that's a whole conversation of itself, right? How you have to basically renew your mind, the Bible says,
mm,
daily when it
mhm.
comes to entrepreneurship. You have to literally turn into a crazy person. I hate to use that word, but you got to almost look delusional when it comes to this stuff, right? But I also believe that that's why God gave you the vision and not anyone else. He
Yeah.
gave Noah the vision and he told Noah the thing. He didn't tell everyone else. He told Noah first, and then Noah, out of faith, started building the thing that he heard, right? And people were laughing at him, people were ridiculing him, but he knew what the Lord told him. And so he's built. So for us, we know the vision the Lord gave us, we know the idea. You start building it. People are going to call you crazy. People are going to look at you like you're weird. People are going to be like, why don't you just go back and work? Why don't you just go back? Why don't you just go back? But you got to stick with it and continue to build and build. And before you know it, you've built a whole big arc, aka a whole big, business
Ecosystem.
ecosystem that literally helps you to carry out the whole thing for mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you were talking about Noah, but the person who came to mind for me was actually Nehemiah, who left the
Yeah.
comfort of politics. You want to talk about comfort? 9 to 5 is one thing. Politics, that's another realm.
Oh
Because
man.
when you're there, you're there.
Good.
So he left the comfort of politics to go rebuild a wall in a place that he hadn't even seen. And ridicule came, and as I was listening to you, I just thought, wow, I think this is just part of the journey. So you just have to expect it. If you're going to have faith, then you should also expect that if you're going to look a little delusional, then you may get called a name or two, or you may hear a few comments. But remembering what God said to you, I think is important.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a piece of advice that I would tell people. Um, I mean, you also got to apply wisdom. Let me be very.
Balance it.
Let's balance this whole piece of advice. I'm not telling you to go quit your job today and end up on the streets and all of that stuff, all in the name of starting a business. Obviously, you use wisdom, right? And you plan it out if you can. Not everyone's story is going to be the same, but I think what you should take away from this is simply that, you know, just hold on to the thing that the Lord gave you and use wisdom to build the thing out.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll even have more of a conversation about personal finance
Mm,
and how that's important. But we
man.
we can chat. So I mean, you have so many different hats you wear. You've worn different hats over the years. But why did you decide to become an athlete? And why did you decide to become a healthcare professional?
So funny enough, when it comes to the athlete piece, I started playing sports because that's what people were doing in my neighborhood growing up, right? That was just the thing to do. So naturally, you do what everyone else is doing, or you want to fit in. So believe it or not, I mean, I played basketball, but basketball wasn't even my first sport, right? Fun fact, baseball was. I actually wanted to play for the New York Yankees and be a pitcher,
Wow,
right?
you learn something new every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You couldn't tell me I wasn't finna go to the major leagues and play baseball and, end up being a pitcher for the Yankees. I just knew it, right? Um, and I tried out, I went to high school,
Mhm.
tried out for the baseball team, and the pitching coach is like, listen, son, you're gonna be tall. You should probably play basketball. And in that moment, I'm not gonna front, I was heartbroken. Like, I felt like you would tell me I'm not good enough.
Mm,
And so I made a vow to myself and I said, I'm gonna show this guy. Like, one day I'm gonna make it big.
mm,
And I ended up so much so I ended up transferring out of that high school, transferring to another high school my sophomore year. I picked up a basketball seriously and I worked on my game diligently, day in, day out, and that sophomore year, I only played 2 years of basketball in high school. Fun fact. I didn't play my sophomore year. I sat out, but the coaches knew about me. And so I just took that year to work on my game. I did everything during that school year just to work on my game. I was working with coaches. I was playing for like 4 or 5 different AAU teams. I used to call myself an AAU hoe, right? I was like, listen, I would play with the team that was going to the best tournament or that was playing in the best tournament that weekend. So those of you that know about AAU, it's usually from like April to like mid July or something like that, close to August. And the top teams or the best teams, AAU programs, they play around the country. And now in this case, I think even around the world now. So I wanted to play for the best team that would expose me to coaches, college coaches, high school coaches, whatever, that would give me the best chance. And so I ended up playing for a few teams, and that helped my game a lot. And then from there, my junior year, I then go on to try out, and that's when I started playing basketball. So for me, playing sports it started out as just like a hobby, just to do this thing like in the neighborhood with my friends, that turned into like a love thing, that then turned into I'm gonna show you thing, that then turned into I love this thing. And it just was able to open up doors and create opportunities for me.
hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. Is that typical for people who do end up going pro to start, like in the high school? What's typical?
No.
When do people typically start playing?
You usually start out pretty young. Like, in fact, if you're not holding a basketball or whatever thing, whether it's a baseball, basketball, tennis ball, whatever, if you're not holding the thing, as soon as you come out the womb, you're late. That's where we are in this current generation, this state. That's how early you have to start playing. I was a late bloomer.
Hmm.
I was actually late in retrospect. I should have been hooping at like 6.
As soon as you could walk.
Yeah, pretty much. I should have been hooping. And that would have made a difference. I promise you, I probably would have been a different person slash player had I played sooner.
So
But
this is good because, we have a lot of people. I have a lot of young patients and they're starting their families and they're dreaming about what they want to do and, how they want to really give their children the best opportunities in life. Some people genuinely don't know that. They don't know that if you want your child to have like, quote unquote, the best opportunities with sports, then they really need to start as early as possible. I grew up in Cameroon and, you know, it's a joke that we have, but as soon as you start walking, you get past the football, which in America
Right.
is called soccer.
Yeah.
You fast forward a couple of years, come to think of it, I actually played basketball was my sport, but I played on my school's football team or soccer team. I didn't do any formal practice, whatever, but I had been playing the thing my whole life, if that makes sense. So the seed was already being planted for a very long time. So I think, yes, it's true, you should start early, but I think the amazing thing with your story is it also shows that it's never too late. God can also do anything with anyone at any point in time. So for you to start sophomore year of high school and still have the opportunity to go pro, I think is also an encouragement to people to know it's never too late.
You just said something that just even blew my mind. That is the story of my life. That is the story of my life. Everything that I have done almost was as though I'd started late, but the Lord's hand was in it and it has caused me to do things at an accelerated pace. Right. So now we talk about the health side or the cooking side. I
Mm-hmm.
started cooking in 2020, 5 years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
the things I've been able to do in 5 years is almost like the career of what most chefs would have done. Like that's the typical trajectory of like a chef that's been in the game for 10 plus years and have gone to culinary school and all the things. I didn't even do that. I'm the self-taught chef that just had a lot of opportunities and afforded opportunities that allow me to be in spaces to really hone in and lock in. But even that, like I didn't mean you would have told me 5 years ago I would have been a chef. I'd have been like, yeah, right. You know what I mean? So I just think it's only by the grace of God that all of this stuff has even happened. And it just goes to show the hand of God in my life. That's it.
And amen. When God's hand is in it, time collapses.
Yeah, that's it.
This. Okay, so we've talked about sports, we've talked about being an athlete. Why health coaching? Where did that come from?
Health coaching started because I have, back in 2018, I essentially had gone to the doctor. Doctor said, dude, you're like border high blood pressure and we need to put you on some pills.
Hmm.
And so I was like, no, you not. I'm not finna get on nobody's pills. You ain't about to get me caught up out here in these streets. That was my thought. So I knew about and heard about, lifestyle changes helping with reversing illnesses and things like that. So I don't know, it was weird. I always said to myself, like, when I'm 40, I'll do these things. When I'm 40, I'll settle down. You gotta be careful what you say. This is why you gotta be so careful about what you say, right? I was like, yeah, when I'm 40, that's when I'll like settle down, I'll get married. When whatever, that's when I'll eat healthy. That's when I'll live a life, right?
Words powerful.
I'm telling you. But I mean, let's just say thank God, right? Just thanks be to God that He showed me mercy on some of the things I've said. And I had to like literally reverse some of the things I've said and prophesied over my own life. That's a whole separate conversation. But anyways, I heard about this, certain lifestyle. So I was like, let me try this like vegan, alkaline vegan thing. So I got in contact with who is now my holistic mentor, and he basically walked me through my first ever detox, right? And basically went through a detox, cold turkey, went from eating fried chicken and all the things, meat, that and the third, to literally nothing, straight to like a state of fasting. And by God's grace, over a couple of weeks, I was able to normalize my blood pressure. When I went back, the doctor was like, what did you do? So I basically was like, okay, I think I'm on to something. So I was like, I'm going to stick with this lifestyle. It's helped me, right? And I just saw the way my skin responded. I saw that I wasn't tired. I wasn't lethargic. I'm like, if you ask anyone that knows me from back in the days, my skin, I always had bad skin. Like I would have acne all over. I would have like just, you know what I'm saying? And those not just like uh blackheads. It was like the pimples that are like in the flesh. Like it's yeah. Anyways, um, I just noticed how well my body responded. And so I was like, I'm gonna keep up with this. And I just fell into it. I realized about me, I fall into something and I end up loving the thing, right? And I want to say I was borderline obsessive with being healthy because it's weird. Like you step into the health realm and you feel such a polar, like it's such a polar opposite of a difference that you're like, so then I just wanted to do all things healthy. And, I just started doing it, doc. That's it. And I saw how it changed me. I started helping other people. I was my first patient. Then my mom technically was my second when she had her own issues back in 2020 with like COVID and almost dying and then basically coming back to life by the grace of God. And then like I would then just help people here and there. And I'm like, okay, so there's something here and it's proven to work. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor, so the things that I've been able to help people with has just been more like, why don't you try this? Have you tried taking this? Maybe stop doing this. Like just giving people, just just try this, right? And so that's how it's kind of happened. That's how it happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your mom for just a split second because I think she has a really powerful testimony.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the outcomes that you've observed, like was she able to come off any medication? Was she able to change anything at all, even weight wise, in her life since you started helping her?
So for her, my mom definitely when she went into the when she was hospitalized, she was big. Like yeah, I'm gonna put her whole business out there, but she was big. When we started working together after she came out, she was like, look, I want to make changes. I don't want to live like this anymore. So she was able to drop almost 50 to 60 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, she was able to start, she was more mobile, less achy, less inflamed. I think her doctor reduced her blood pressure medication. Um, and overall, she be hop, skipping, and jumping. We be in church, and she be jumping more than me sometimes. You know, um, I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at women her age or people her age, and I'm like, you are running circles around a lot of these people, even people younger than her. Like
Mm.
she's more mobile. She can move, she can walk by God's grace. That woman, she's just amazing. And she is a walking testimony. Like when you see her, just know that God is actually real because she was pronounced dead.
Amen. Powerful. And now as you're speaking, I'm like, wow. So do we complicate this longevity thing? Is it possible that if we make certain changes, not only can you attain certain testimonies by the grace of God alone, but even live lives because there's so much out there in the longevity space right now, so much. But I'm just curious, as you're speaking, that's coming to mind, how much we complicate these things
I think
sometimes.
so. I think so. I tell people, and think about this is my mom doing this at her age. So imagine if she would have did this 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, I mean, that's why I think you and I we always talk about it. But if you make changes now, it's cheaper to do what you do or do what we tell you to do now versus later it'll be more expensive. Because the payment might be either death or that you have some very steep hospital bills,
Yeah.
right? My mom when she was my dad too, right? My dad passed away in 2020 stage 4 prostate cancer. I think I saw what his insurance had paid out. It was almost close to $1 million just for like all of it. And he ended up dying. So like, you know what I mean? And I'm just thinking like, man, if you would have just lived a different lifestyle, you maybe this wouldn't have happened. Maybe it would have been a different outcome. So
Difference.
I think making just subtle changes daily pays dividends in the long run. Think of like the stock market, right?
Mm.
Like an investment account. That's what your health is like. Your health is adjacent to an investment account. You just put a little in over time, and that just compounds over time. And then you look 20 years later and you have $1 million in the bank, right? That's the similarity with our health. you make these small deposits daily. You make these small investments in your health, and over time, you'll see. There's a gentleman, and this is my last one. There's a gentleman right now in my gym. His mom, him and my mom are the same age.
Mm,
His body looks better than mine. His body looks better than mine. He
mm,
eats a certain way. He works out.
mhm,
Studies have shown, weight resistance, body resistance, that helps with the longevity, keeps you sharp, keeps your body intact. A lot of people don't know. You can't not work out. Like we cannot not work. Like we have to. Like weight resistance is so important for your health, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. And when you lose it, you can't get it back the older
mm.
you get, right? So just now, we're not talking going in the gym and lifting 100 pounds. Like just getting on the incline, treadmill, the Stairmaster, doing light calisthenics, resistance training. You could just get some bands, right? Resistance bands. Just do that. But you got to do that. That helps with cardiovascular health. That helps with your muscles. And there's studies that have been shown that um, having stronger muscles is like I read this article, and it's like tied to brain health or something now. So it's just showing all of these benefits from now just working out. The benefits, being in the sauna. I by the grace of God, I have not been sick. I can't even remember the last time I've been sick, especially since I started working out again. Especially since, and I've been in the gym now since September 2025. September 11th, I'm up 22 pounds, and I have not been sick. And I've been around people, I've been in church, and we've been around thousands of people, and literally like people have said, oh, the Monday, like after we have these longer programs, like that Monday, people are like out, and I'm good by God's grace. And I know that's obviously attributed to what I do on a daily basis, but also I know it's me being in the gym, keeping my immune system sharp, and also the sauna, right? So that's my spiel on health and longevity.
Yeah, that's really good because the sauna, what you're doing is you've created a routine around detoxification in addition to other things, which by the way, Chef Dre is keen on his morning routine. So he's drinking tea as we speak, if you're listening
Literally.
to audio. So what are you drinking today?
So if you know me, it's always gonna be key lime tea. Um, but this is actually an herb tea. I'm starting out with this morning, herbal tea. This is a Cersei tea. So it's like a bitter. Um, I was out last night, I was cooking I did like a dinner party, so I had service last night. So if I'm around people, I like to get my bitters in. It just helps in a lot of different ways. And also, I didn't get to eat the way I wanted to yesterday. I just didn't get like certain things in. So I know the bitters is just I know what it does. It just feels good. Like I need a bitter.
This is good because, the more you learn about your health, you develop systems. What you're doing is you're literally implementing a system even around your health. And that leads
Yeah.
to the next question I have. So, you've been doing health coaching. Let's talk about what you've seen so far. How long have you been doing this? What are some of the outcomes, if any, or testimonials you're seeing with your clients thus far?
Unofficially since 2020, right? Mom and myself being the first.
Hmm.
Officially the last 2 years. I had someone that came to me. I actually had someone that came to me who basically started my meal plan because they wanted to prove that my food wasn't all that.
Hmm.
And then that turned into multiple months of working with me. And, by God's grace, I was able to help this person lose weight, their skin cleared up, all these different things that they saw with their own body. They were just overall in a good space. And again, hey, try some oil of oregano. Boom. Next thing you know, this person wasn't as sickly anymore. And then that turned into to her giving it to her own kids. Um, you know, I basically gave her my whole morning routine. Basically, my whole routine. I was like, do this, literally copy paste, and that paid dividends in the life of one of my first clients. And it was amazing just to hear some of the testimonies that she received, right? Or, she told me how she would go out and she would be around people and they'd be like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. Your skin's great. What have you been doing? Da 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 da. And she's like, I've just been eating healthier. I've been having mustard seed food and obviously, just aligning to just healthier lifestyle overall. So that's one of the outcomes. I think more recently, I think we've had in the seed lab, right? I think we can talk about that. We've seen, people who've had, PCOS, like um their symptoms basically like, you know, I guess not yeah, no symptoms anymore, right? I think, right? MS, less symptoms and less flare-ups. And we've seen people who have issues. We've seen people lose on average. I think what was our average weight loss for a while, like amongst our clients?
Yeah, 10 to 15 pounds. But we've even had, if you remember, there was someone who had lost up to 20 in a week.
A week, yeah, I remember that. And that was all water weight and inflammation.
Yeah,
Yeah, someone lost a bunch of visceral fat. We got one person who's now like a complete gym head, gym nut, literally turned his whole life around. I think he lost maybe in total, what, 50 pounds, 40, 50 pounds.
I think so.
And now he's a gym bro again. Shout out to him. And he feels better. Um, and I think that's one of the things that we can say consistently across the board, right? Is if anything, two things we know for sure that's going to happen if you work with us. You'll lose a couple of pounds or a few pounds, and you're going to feel better.
Hmm.
And in most cases, you'll look it too. So I think it just shows what aligning to a healthier lifestyle does. Naturally, you're going to drop the inflammation, the water weight. You're going to look good. You're going to feel good. And if anything else, it's just an added bonus.
Okay. You've actually literally answered another question which I had, which was, health coaching in general. Why do people need it? Why should people come to the Seed Lab? Because technically, you mentioned you've been doing this unofficially for about 5 years now. So I was gonna ask, why did you decide to formalize it even last year into the Seed Lab?
I think it was almost like a natural progression. It was like it just made sense, right? I'm already doing it with the food. And I was like, if I tell you how much messages I get on the daily about things, should I do this? What should I do? So I was like, I was already doing it. I
Hmm.
was literally already doing work. And I think I was talking to you about it. And I was like, yo, I think I need to just do this because I'm doing it. Like, let's just put structure around this thing now, right? And get paid for my time, right? And let's talk about that for a second, right? People find out that you're really good at something or that, what you have is valuable and they come to you and you give them a little nugget of something and then they're like, oh my God, that was good. And then they come back and you're like, well, hold on. I got to put up a boundary here and let you know that while I'm so grateful that this has worked to the glory of God, but I also need you to understand that my time is important. And I just want to say this for everyone out there with all respect and all humility. If someone were to always come to you asking you for your advice, for your IP, for the thing that you're able to do or you're gifted with, like it's like walking into McDonald's or going through a drive-through and not expecting to pay, but you want the outcome, right? Is that fair to us? Is that fair to you? Would you like someone to do that? You feel like, you know what I mean? Um, so I think, it's important for us to also realize that, and I had to learn this myself. I'm not, I ain't no saint here, but I'm just saying that, you know, when it comes to us, health coaches or just people who are in this space, entrepreneurs, like, stop expecting the world for nothing, right? Like, we're humans. Like, this is not a nonprofit. Like, and I tell people that respectfully. I don't run a nonprofit. My time is very valuable, and I know the things that I and you, us, we produce works, so therefore you ought to pay for it. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But the reality is the reality.
Yeah, I was listening to something the other day, and someone said that free is. Sometimes people think that they're getting something for free. It's actually good for them, but it's actually not. It's not always good. There's always actually a price for something, and you
Oh,
just may not know what the price is. So you may think that you're getting something for free, but I can assure you that even if it seems like it is free, down the line, you yourself will assess and see what that price would be. For example, you can decide, okay, I'm just going to go the free route. Let me only do what I know or whatever. But then that price you may pay is the bad outcome because you're now coming to get care later than you should have.
yeah.
Meanwhile, if you had actually sought professional help, and not just professional help, but I'm very big on outcomes.
Mm, mm,
See what outcomes you've seen and what outcomes you've produced. What is the evidence?
yeah,
I think people don't always think of it that way.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we don't accept insurance, for example, for a bunch of reasons because it limits some of the things that we need to do to for our clients to be successful.
yeah,
But one of the things is people automatically think, well, I have insurance, so why should I pay for this as well? But at the same time, because you have insurance, are you going to stay with subpar care and just be a number and not get the outcomes that you need? I think this is where personal choice comes in, but it's just good to reflect and think about these things. Free is not always good.
yeah. I think you touched on a good point, right? And I'll give you a perfect example in the world of being a chef, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes people will reach out and they'll inquire and da 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 da, and then they'll be like, oh, well, I'll circle back, or they'll say, oh, like for all of this, I could just make it myself, and I'm like, okay, then go make it yourself, right? But the reason why anyone pays for food is because you don't want to make it yourself, right? Like, it's that simple. You're not paying me necessarily just because you want food to eat and it tastes good. You're paying me because you don't have the time to do it or it's an inconvenience for you.
Convenience.
Um, and I think people sometimes forget about that piece in the work that we do, right? And over time, and another thing too, sometimes people think that, oh, I eat healthy today, I should lose weight, or I eat healthy today, so there should be. No, that's not how this works. Like,
Fixes.
it takes time. But we live in a world where there's this like a quick fix to your point, and we know about a lot of quick fixes that are out these days. But you pay for that, right? You pay for the quick fix. You pay for the thing that you think is an instant gratification,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm
And
a
education.
yeah, I'm a slow build, slow roll guy. Like, let's build. Because when you build, you have a foundation. But when you do something quick, there is no foundation. If the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? The Bible says.
Right.
So I'm big on building a foundation. I'm big on building. Nehemiah built. I'm all about building. And then you can look back and say, wow, look at the progress, right? I'll use myself as a perfect example. 24 pounds of lean muscle since September. And all I did was just put the work in. It was the equity every single week.
Consistency.
It's the consistency. I didn't go and try to shoot up steroids. I didn't try to do anything out the norm. I just stuck to the plan and I saw the results. But
So
oh, you got excited. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I am excited because we need to talk about that. I often get, especially my patients who are men, they want to get healthy, but they don't want to lose too much weight. They don't want to be skinny or scrawny or what have you. So you've been able to gain 22 pounds of lean muscle. Did you use any protein powders? Did you use any
No,
additional
no, no.
things, supplements? I'm honing in on that because I want
Yeah.
you to talk about that. And so, as someone who is also a former pro athlete.
Yeah. So I think that let's address two pieces here, right? So when I went through my healing phase, I lost all the weight in the world. but I needed to do that. So it depends on what's happening here. So if
What's
you're going through a phase of, right, if you're going through a phase of healing, you're gonna lose weight because you got to your body, you got to set up an atmosphere and an environment conducive for healing to happen and to occur holistically, right? From a holistic functional perspective. That's one side, right? And then you build it back because that's what I did. Um, but if you're like the average Joe and you're just trying to, build muscle the clean way, or I guess this way, which is like the plant-based functional way, yeah, it's doable. I make my own protein shakes. I don't believe in protein powder, right? Now there are some brands out there that I've seen that are better, but fundamentally speaking, I make my own protein shakes. I just the same things that you get what I'm saying? Like the same things you can just go to the source, right? So let me get the walnuts, let me get the pumpkin seeds, let me get, hemp seeds, let me get like so walnuts, tons of protein, brain health, brain functionality, immune boosting, pumpkin seeds, helps with your gut, helps with your brain functionality, helps with parasitics, like gets parasites out. And it's one
Mm,
of the highest yielding protein seeds out there.
mm,
I started adding pumpkin seeds when I realized how much protein was in it. More than pumpkin, walnut seeds, walnuts,
wow.
hemp seeds, a complete total protein with amino acids, which helps with recovery of the body. Amino acids is what you need in order to recover from a tough workout. Chia seeds, all of these are also good and high in fiber, right? You build that together. Tahini butter, that's my like healthier version of peanut butter because we know peanut butter is inflammatory. So I now have told you that's four things already. Tahini butter is filled with protein. By the time I'm done building a protein shake, I'm at almost what, 25, 30 grams of protein, right? And if I really want to get jiggy, I'll use almond milk. Also use a little bit of protein and calcium and all the things. So let's just debunk that real quick, right? You can build your own protein shake. And for the record, your body can process only but so much protein in one sitting, anyways. So people are out here trying to get in one sitting, trying to get 500 grams of protein. Like your body can only process only but so much at one time. That's why people end up with these guts. I call them the protein guts because
Mm,
you're not able to like your body hasn't processed everything.
mm,
Your gut, it hasn't processed all that protein that you've ingested. So you're still processing the protein shake from 2 days ago, and that's why you're gassy and bloated and farting up the place. I hate listen in the gym. Any gym bro will tell you there's what we call protein farts. You know what a protein fart smells like, right? It's a thing. Like people are passing gas, and it's all protein because your body is still trying to process and break down all of that protein that you've ingested. Your body, think about it. Let me break this down. I love breaking things down in a very logic way. Imagine you are a human and someone takes a 500-pound uh, weight and throws it at you. It's too much. It's heavy. It's overwhelming. You need time to like hold it. You need time, right? So
right.
how are you now going to throw all this protein into your body and think it's going to break it down immediately? It can't do that. That's not
Mhm,
how your body works. That's why you have a small and a large intestine because it's a process. If you
mm,
were to take out your intestines and put it down, I think I saw they said the intestines, if you
mhm.
take it out and put it, it's like it's feet long.
Yeah.
Like
Let
it's
me get
very
the
long.
number.
How long is it? You might know that, but I read that. And it was like if you were to take it out, that whole this and put it out in one, it's very, very long. So it tells you
Yeah.
how how long it takes to process something.
The small and large intestines range from 20 to 30 feet.
Boom. There you go. There you go. And you telling me you want to come down and just 500 grams of protein in one day? Are you kidding me? Right? So I just went on a tangent there, but I feel that to say you can very much have a protein shake that doesn't need to be protein powders with a bunch of different things in there that you do not know what it is, you cannot pronounce, and it's not even FDA approved. For all the health nuts out there, you're ingesting something that is not even approved by the FDA, so they don't even know what's in it. Think about that. It's
Mm,
not organic, not and the FDA approves everything. So for the FDA not to approve that, then it can't be good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Clearly, Coach Dre was in his bag.
Yeah, low key.
No, but that was good. I think that that conversation needs to be had. I think that people need to hear this and know this. And to be very honest, I think most people don't work out enough anyway to need protein shakes, if we're being honest.
Mm.
It's just become a thing. Let me lift 2 pound weights and go drink a protein shake. I look at some ladies, you've done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no.
Well, 2 pound weight
Um,
is nothing on their own.
Here's another one. Let's talk about this. So there's actually two. We talk about supplements. So another one that's become a bigger thing in our health and wellness space is like creatine, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Go ahead.
Creatine is actually there's a lot of stuff out there.
Hmm.
Your body creates creatine naturally, by the way, right? It's in your body.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not actually against um I'm not actually against creatine, for the
Hmm.
record. I've actually done extensive research on creatine, like a lot. I'm talking about I've looked into like scholarly articles. I've looked into like, you know, I've done all my comparing, contrasting, looking at ingredients, like where it's sourced from, and I've come across some actually clean ones. So I do like if people ask me, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking creatine, right? I think you can take some and it's fine. You got
Hmm.
to find the right one. I think most importantly,
Yeah.
um, and you can take it. I think because now studies have even shown that creatine is also it does lead to like down the line like it's good for brain health.
Hmm.
And it does help with moods, it does help with being sharp, it does help with like those things. So there
Hmm.
are benefits outside of like what we know creatine to be good for, which is like recovery, strength and all of these different things. So I think it's important. I think you can take it. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing. Again, a very important topic that I think, we also need to address, generally speaking, in the health and wellness space. So, as we wrap up with this episode, I think it was important that we were able to lay the foundation, so to speak. Have you share your story? Have you share a few of these insights, right? Um, that you have. And I think it goes to show, I think, in my humble opinion, I think Chef Dre is a wealth of knowledge, and it shows like you're just speaking, but there's so many nuggets in what you're saying. And these are the things that people need to know. It's one thing to have a doctor, but that's the beauty of health coaching, the day to day practical things, learning. Why should I use this seasoning versus that one? Should I use a protein shake? How should I work out? All of the day to day questions. That's the beauty of health coaching because that really gets dissected and disseminated. So you can really integrate well into your life. So
Yeah.
tell us, what are some of the things that people can look forward to on the Seed Lab podcast? And then maybe tell us also why they need to become a member of the Seed Lab.
I love that you said you kind of made a distinction between almost kind of like what we do, right?
Mhm.
So, and I love whenever I explain and talk about the seed lab, I always say, think the yin yang, think, we just what we do, we kind of complement each other. So you come with science, you come with, the medical, right, license, certified, the blood, sweat, and tears background, right? Talk about Hopkins, and you talk about that when your time comes, right? But you come with that background, and then I come with the practical, functional, like you said, perfectly said, like day to day, here are the things that you ought to do, almost like a guide along the way. And I think when you think about the seed lab, that's it, right? And then we couple that with the food to kind of supplement all of this stuff as well. So I think, for those of you that are out there that are, interested in this space, that just want better, that wants just sick and tired of being sick and tired, um, know that you're not feeling your best and you could feel better. That's what you can expect from us. You can expect the licensed doctor, and then the coach to help you along the way. And we're just here to help you be your best version of you, and to see the transformation at the end. So that's what you can expect from us. I think for us, you can expect us to be having more and more conversations with people in this space, in the health and wellness space, professionals, experts. We'll try to get some athletes on here just to give a different perspectives. We really want to have perspective on this podcast and a variation of thought, um, just so that you understand, because this stuff, the health and wellness space, it's beyond just being, respectfully speaking, just being a doctor,
Mhm.
right? It's beyond that, right? We're now seeing people in Vegas opting out for raves and instead doing um, these Pilates parties, these, you know, mocktail parties. Like, people are opting into being healthier,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
It's starting to click. There's a shift happening now,
Hmm.
right? The wellness space right now, this our space is a 1.3
Trillion.
trillion-dollar industry right now.
Hmm.
And it's again, it's beyond just going to the doctor. It's
Hmm.
beyond that. People are now thinking long term, the longevity of it, the what can I do on a micro level day to day to help, in the long term, in the long run. And I think that's where we come in. So
Yep.
that's what you can expect from us, and we're doing our work on the back end, behind the scenes. We're going to the conferences. We're having the conversations with people to learn more. We're doing the research. Like, you and I, we're constantly researching. We're constantly coming across new things in the industry and finding out ways to fine tune what we do to improve ourselves so that we can be of better help and service to you guys. So that's what you can expect from us at the Seed Lab.
Amazing, 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 amazing. Well, thank you, Chef Trey. I think that, as always, you're a wealth of wisdom. And so this was exactly that. And so I hope that for everyone who tuned into today's episode, you got a better understanding of the vision behind the Seed Lab, what we're trying to do. And there's so much to come, so much to come. But I believe that if you're ready to move from being sick and tired of being sick and tired to literally going through a process that will prepare you, I dare say, with the same coaching mindset you need to even participate in the Olympics or to become a peak performer, then we're your people. If you're not ready to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, we may not be the best people for you.
That's right.
That's okay.
And that's cool. That's cool,
That's okay.
right? We want people who want it, right? Like, think about this as like you're trying out for a team. We want you on our team, but we want people that want to be on the team, that want to put the work in, that want to go to practice, that are okay with the 5 a.m., aka the things that are not going to be comfortable, those things that matter, right? That when you get to the game, you can say, oh, this happened because of the work that I put in, right? I was shooting in the gym, at 5 a.m. I was putting the work in when no one else saw. I was doing it when it wasn't comfortable, when it didn't feel good. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So thank you. God bless you. And for everyone, please make sure you subscribe on YouTube, podcast platforms, literally everywhere. Follow us on social media at Grow Seed Lab. There will be a link to apply to join, to become a member of the Seed Lab. So look for that in the show notes. And until next time, have a wonderful day. God bless you.